You might recognize that song from Sesame Street, but for those who don't know, it is called I Don't Want to Live on the Moon and is sung by Ernie. I cry inside whenever I play it on the piano, as I know some people really do live on the moon. This is my first video on YouTube. Apart from that silly little poem I wrote under the full moon the day I went to the dentist. I talk a lot more in this video. It is about the schizoid wound, and there is another really good video on YouTube about this which you should watch. I will put the link in the description. I guess this is the whole reason I make this channel, to try and heal this wound and restore some connection to humanity. There's not a lot of people out there sharing their experiences with this, which isn't surprising as that's what defines the schizoid wound. We have retreated so far into our inner world we can't get out. I've heard it likened to being buried alive. You are trapped inside your head. You have this entire life in there, but you can't bridge it with the outside world. And sometimes it's quite an awful place in there, but no one can hear you screaming. For me, my feelings are not completely deadened. I am able to feel, and I am deeply moved by music. In fact, you could say I overdose on music as I listen to it all day. It's the one thing that gets my emotions and energy flowing again. Yet as soon as someone is with me, I shut down, and I can no longer feel the same music which made my soul fly. The same music that made me dance as though on ecstasy, but no one ever sees that side of me. The music is too real, too close to my soul. I must shut down anything that is real. People ask how I am, but I don't know, as I can't feel my feelings anymore. People ask how I've been, but I can't tap into what it is I feel when I'm alone. People ask me what I've been up to, but I struggle to remember what I've been doing with my time, because the life I lead inside is so divorced from the world. It is seriously like living dual lives. I think I spend most of my time lost in cyberspace, filling the emptiness up with music or anything I can find. Being around people is so overwhelming, so demanding, so tiring. All the expectations, to reply instantly, to make eye contact. It's so hard to speak and feel at the same time. It's so hard to look at people and also listen. All of these functions are not integrated in me. I just sort of act my way through the social encounter, try to survive it, try to make them feel comfortable while I'm just dead inside, as Korn sings in his song People Pleaser. The word schiz means separation. We are separated in just about every sense of the word. We are not what we look. I might hug, but it's an empty hug. I might smile, but I am unhappy. I might look at you, but my gaze is vacant. I am worlds away. I might look like I'm not listening, when I am. I might look like I feel nothing when I feel everything. Earlier this year I came to the painful realization that I don't really have friends. I have acquaintances. People can hardly call me a friend when they don't know me. But some people think they do know me. Some people think I am their friend. Think that we are more than that even. They feel a closeness that isn't really there, and I end up hurting these people, because they fall in love with someone, something, that is not even human. They walk away thinking we've had this great connection, and then this wall comes down and they don't hear from me. They tell me they miss me, but I don't give a shit. I will go weeks, months, years without contact and I don't care. I actually want to be close to people, but I can't, and that's what makes this such an agonizing condition for me. I do get lonely, but the loneliness doesn't really go away when I have company. My doctor is on my back about putting on weight. I have been losing weight all year and my BMI is off the chart. She says if I keep this up she will put me in hospital. I forget that I have a physical body that needs looking after. That is something else the schizoid wound does. According to Alexander Lowen, lead psychotherapist in the field, the schizoid wound is associated with a certain body composition. The body is often narrow and contracted in an effort to hold everything in. It appears malnourished. Blood flow is cut off from the exteriors. The body doesn't move freely but is stiff and mechanical. Breathing is shallow, which blocks feeling. The schizoid wound also creates a certain energy signature. The lower chakras are blocked and energy is cut off from the neck down. This can look one of two ways, as Laurence and Aline LaPierre write about in their book Healing Developmental Trauma. The person may be incredibly intellectual, or they may be incredibly spiritual. The schizoid wound is an ancient wound, also called the unwanted child, the lost child, or, in folklore, a changeling. It happens when we are made to feel not welcome in the world from a young age. For me, my birth was a very traumatic one. There was a disconnect between me and the outside world before I even came out of the womb because the baby monitor was broken. It said I was distressed, and the doctors didn't know whether the reading was correct or not. In the end, I was pulled out with forceps, but the doctors doing the delivery didn't know how to use them. Finally they called in someone who did. My mum was left crippled after the birth and hobbled about in a walking frame. My family fought. I don't know if that is when I started to feel I did not belong here, as I only brought pain and trouble to the people around me. But that message was drilled into me later, when a friend I started school with accused me of doing an unspeakable crime to her and started a very damaging smear campaign against me. I moved schools 7 times and was constantly the new girl. Everywhere I went I was left out of friendship circles. But when I had a spiritual reading done a few years ago, I found out that this sense of alienation has been with me for lifetimes. In one lifetime, I was the only child who would play with the kid with leprosy. In another, I was a nurse who took in a young child abandoned outside the orphanage. The mediums told me their souls had attached themselves to me and continued to play out in my life. My own mother was an adopted child, and an old therapist believed I bared some of her scars around this. Many events have fed into my schizoid wound. But it is a wound we all, to some extent, relate to. Separateness is the human condition. Being in separate bodies with separate perspectives, we must find a way to relate to each other. We also live in a head-driven society which values intellect over emotion and body, academia over practice. Most of us are no longer working on farms or eating fresh food which is close to life's source. And as an individualist culture, we have lost our sense of community. So many people are turning to mindfulness now, which makes me wonder just how many others are stuck on their own moons and planets. Lunig's cartoon of a body chasing a runaway head with a net comes to mind. Maybe we can all unite in our aloneness. I'm all for a new minister for loneliness.